and welcome everyone. I'm Peace Mitchell and I'm co-founder of Osmompreneur and the Women's Business School. The Women's Business School is a 6-month online program for businesses who are starting out and pre-launch. So we have an incubator program called Ignite. It's a 6-month program to give you all of the foundations that you need for business. We also have an accelerator program for those of you who are more experienced in business and ready to scale up, expand internationally, or move into new markets. And that program also runs for 6 months. Both of our courses are currently running for 2021, but our 2022 intake will start in early next year and applications open later in the year. But today we have an amazing guest who's joining us, Leah Chandler, who is the founder of KidsFit Australia. Welcome, Leah.
Hi, Peace. It's good to be here.
Hi, Leah. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Peace. And yourself?
I'm really good. So, Leah, for people who haven't met you before, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are and what you do?
Well, I live in Brisbane. I'm a mother of 3, and I have a family that is touched by special needs or additional needs. And I work with families and kids and supporting also those people around parents and families, so such as educators and things like that. So we do a lot of work and a 3-tiered approach where we help the parents of families, our kids, and educators and surrounding support staff to basically do inclusive programs for everybody.
And do you mostly work with early childhood, younger children, or children of all ages?
We have a big burn to start there. So we do a lot of programs in early learning centres. However, we do a lot of work in special needs and mainstream schools for older age groups. It just depends on the need that we see when we do get contacted by a client, and we will actually adapt our programs according to that.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I know that you do a lot of work in person, face to face, but you've had to pivot in the last 12 months or so. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, we've just started our online program or our online journey, and we're about to launch another arm of that. So that will be where we actually get our parents and carers programs online, so we can support parents and carers that way nationally, because we know that our programs are needed everywhere in Australia. And our kids programs are actually about to go online. So there'll be some live links to that over the next couple of weeks.
That's fantastic. And I guess it's a great way to be really reaching people in remote and rural areas who wouldn't necessarily have had access to the programs before.
Yes, that's right. We have been asked by many, many people in various places, which I just can't get to personally, especially for our parents and carers. I do love doing face-to-face programs. However, I recognise that that's just not an option right now. And also for our own family, there's a lot of things that happen with our family that I can't always travel as well as the current climate. So we wanted to make sure that we get those simple techniques and tips out to other people.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, Leah, you've been running this business for a while now. What have been some of your greatest achievements?
Well, I think just basically running a business is one thing. With our family, we've had a pretty interesting family life over the last few years, and it's all great, but it has been very busy. And I think definitely running a business that has to pivot through COVID has been another thing. And just adapting to what's happening with the obesity epidemic as well as the anxiety epidemic in Australia. They seem to marry up. So we wanted to be part of that solution. I found looking at numbers and seeing where people are at, and especially younger people now, people are getting younger and younger for the anxiety side of things. We just wanted to help. So
that's something you're really passionate about, helping people with anxiety and giving kids the skills for anxiety. Is that part of what the program does?
Definitely. We sit in, I guess, in the category of working through fitness, but particularly yoga and mindfulness. I found personally we started with how our family needed to work through, I guess, looking at how we could help our children with additional needs, and also siblings that were working with other siblings with additional needs, and seeing how our family could support each other that way. And then just by chance, sitting in my child's classroom one day, I looked around the room, and he was only maybe 7 or 8, and noticed how many other children were either struggling with perhaps some trauma background, but anxiety was the part that you see the most when you look around. And some of it was behavioural needs because they have conditions that were emerging, so emerging behaviour, and then others were with the trauma side of that then brought out the behavioural needs for it. So we just went, oh my gosh, like we've learnt so many things that could help our family. How could we bring that across? And I have a love of fitness. I've always been part of the fitness industry, and kids and families. That's always been a big burn for me right from a really young age. So we thought, how could we combine that to, I guess, bring those passions across and just really help another family.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, all of the research shows that yoga and mindfulness are really important for mental health, but fitness and exercise are important for mental health as well, aren't they?
Yes, mindful moving is how we look at things. So we do a lot of fitness programs, particularly for additional needs as well, and mixed programs. So if we get asked by a family, we'll work with the family on what they actually need for their children. And also I often see a parent mirror what I used to go through. So I go, oh, we need to help you too. Otherwise, you're just not going to be able to help your child. So we look at how we can actually integrate something for them as well, whether it be fitness, wellness, or mindfulness in general. We look at how we can tailor those programs.
Yeah, I love that you're looking at that. It's supporting the parents, because often it's the child with additional needs, or that needs all of the time and attention and caring, and gets a lot of those supports and assistance. But the real role that the carer plays, that's a lot as well. It's a huge thing. And making sure that they're okay is really important.
It is. And also burnout is a very easy thing to all of a sudden be at. You'll be running and putting fires out, and that is necessary. I'm not going to tell you that it's not. As a family, sometimes as a parent, you need to run that gauntlet to get to another side of things. Sometimes it gets harder before it gets easier. But I guess the awareness around how your body's coping with that is another thing. So that mindfulness on, oh my gosh, I just need to work out how I can manage myself, or I'm going to have a breakdown here and not be any good to anyone, which does lead to breakdowns of relationships, breakdown of relationships between kids and parents, but also between husband and wife or partners. And so it's really good when we have partners come into the parents and carers together, because often you can see who's taking on most of the issues and where they're at, and then we talk support, and often you can pick it. So we have a chat about, are you looking after yourself, and we give those self-regulation techniques for them, and then give them options for the child as well, or the children that they're looking after. And sometimes they may have an element of things going on too that perhaps their child also has. So we do see a lot of diagnosis for in the ADHD and in the autism category for later on in life. So sometimes that realization for families, it's sometimes in the parents as well, which actually helps them a lot, because now they understand themselves a little better. So we do try to pinpoint. I don't look at asking those questions to them, because that's another job for a psychologist. But I do give them maybe some ideas that may work in that category, or those categories that will also help them as an adult.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's really great. And I love when you talk about partners coming in as well, because I think often as women, we don't ask for help. And we might be feeling overwhelmed and taking it all on and not actively asking for help. But if those partners are coming along and you're talking about the role and everything, then that's a way that you can support that.
And I think there's a misunderstanding that males don't help as much as they should. But I just think in a lot of relationships, they just do it differently. And they hold things more to their chest with some things as well. So that's not everyone, but that's a fairly observant way to look at things in the general population. And I think there seems to be a misunderstanding sometimes in partners that they're not doing this or they're not feeling this, but they are in their own way, and they have a different way of categorizing things, males to females. And I think understanding that difference in how they're actually coping is really important. And then it gives a bit of a different reflection when you actually point that out. So we do point that out in our parents and carers, and be kind to each other, because you need each other and you need to remember to support each other. And it'll come out in different ways. And it's just the same as a child. They'll have different ways of bringing things across depending on their personality and what's happening with them and their trauma, if they've got background of trauma. So it's important to understand that parents have the same thing, and male, female, we do things differently. So
yeah, absolutely. I think those conversations that you're having with families would be really important, because raising a child with additional needs does bring a whole host of extra challenges.
It does, but also just raising family with anything that happens. I mean, we all have stuff. We all have things that happen in our life, and we all have times where we don't cope as well as the other partner maybe, or our children might be not coping as well as, they might have coped 6 months before on various things. So I think understanding that we all go through stages and being supportive of that, but at the same time, maybe perhaps recognizing that some of it is a self-journey thing, and then the other things are, how can we put some self-regulation techniques in place, safe spaces, kind of things that you can do in your own home or surrounding areas. So sometimes it's a safe space, just going down to the park and having some time out. Things like that are really important to put in front of someone, even if you have to do it in the ways that they need to understand it, because sometimes being in your face might not work for someone. Sometimes just putting some information over to them and sliding that out, or planting a seed, is the way to do it. So just learning to know your family is very important.
Absolutely. So, Leah, what are some of the challenges that you've faced as a business owner with growing this business and getting it off the ground?
Well, there was a few. We moved state and home in 2018. We moved from Darwin to Brisbane. So we had the choice of moving firstly with 3 children, varying places in school and their own kind of journeys. So we had that, but also we decided to move state and home and basically build our business a little more in Brisbane, as well as continue in the Northern Territory. So that was a pretty wild ride, because we hadn't quite worked that out yet before we moved. It sort of just happened, which is great. No regrets. It's fantastic to be in Brisbane. We've really enjoyed being here. But I guess looking over the last 18 months, definitely COVID's up there. We've had to redirect our traffic, if you like, in our business. We've had to work out how we can still kick some goals in what we would like to achieve in the community, and how we can best bring that out. So there's definitely been some pivoting going on. And I'm sure while I'm talking to you, everybody's going, you're talking to me. So there's definitely a lot of businesses in the same boat. So there's that. And at the same time, my daughter had major surgery, spinal surgery. She's got severe scoliosis. So that made it all very interesting via COVID as well. And because she grew so quickly, there was a lot of things that happened very quickly. So I'm still working through that myself. And I also ended up with an autoimmune condition last year. So I had to work through that. which was a good thing because I finally got some answers on some stuff that didn't make sense over the last couple of years. So this year's good in that way, but we've sort of got through some of those hard side of things. And I think over the next 12 months to 2 years, if we can continue with an online project and get our programs up online as well as in person, I think we will recover. So we're just going to see how we go over the next 6 months and then work through the next after that and go from there.
Gosh, that's a lot of challenges that you've had to navigate and overcome and work through. How do you look after yourself while you're, managing so many things in your life and your business and your family?
Well, I weightlift. So I do Olympic lifting, and I'm in Masters for that, and I love it because Masters is all about, and that's 35 and up. Olympic lifting is quite a hard sport. You've got to be quite mobile, strong, and you've got to have a fairly good mindset on it because it is quite a hard sport. And I love it because it is technical. That's where my brain sits, and it's quite a hard sport. So for anyone out there, it's very different to powerlifting. It's called Olympic weightlifting. So you'll see it in the Olympics at the moment. There's some really good Australian people in there too at the moment. So you'd be looking at the clean and jerk and the snatch. So that's a little bit different to your bench pressing, your squatting, and your deadlifting. Which is powerlifting. So there's a little bit of a difference. So it's very technical, and I love doing that. So that's where I go to work on a different goal. So I just go from competition to competition just because I enjoy the fun of it. I enjoy the how hard it can be, and it just takes my brain out of anything else going on as well, and it keeps me fit and strong. Alongside of that, I do other fitness as well, lots of riding and yoga. And coming back to yoga, that keeps my brain in a really good place, looking at the mindfulness and the meditation side. And I do, even just coming from one thing to the next, I'll have a couple of minutes and just take some time out before I can go to the next thing so I can get my brain into that. Because sometimes we find, I don't know if you probably find that too, I'm sure lots of people do, especially women. It's hard to actually stop thinking about one thing to go to the next if you have a few things on. And I found that much more helpful when I want to talk to my family as well. So there's a lot of meditation around that, but sometimes it's just meditation bites, just a couple of minutes. I do a lot of writing out stuff. Sometimes my brain's too jumbled to sort of work through meditation. So I'll start with writing things out, sort of a bit of a brain dump, and then coming back to that later and seeing what needs to go and what needs to stay. But meditation is definitely one.
That's amazing. I never knew that you were a weightlifter. That's incredible. How long have you been doing that for?
I've always done weights and things for fitness outside of other energetic stuff. And I like the outdoors, so happy to do whatever outdoors. I'm a coach for it as well, so I love teaching kids and families and other people. I probably have been doing it for maybe 8 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, it keeps me out of mischief.
Yeah. And the yoga, so you're a yoga instructor, but do you go to other yoga classes as well, or do you just do yoga by yourself?
No, I do. I do, but I just find I go when I feel like I need the environment. I might go and just go to the environment, or I want to learn something different. It's like a different kind of yoga to maybe what I teach. I like to do that. If I connect with a teacher, sometimes I like just to find out how they teach. And I might be talking to someone and go, oh, she's really good. I'd like to go and find out how she teaches, just because it's nice for me to observe that and support them as well. But I do find I do a lot of practice on my own, and I find I'm a yoga therapist now, so I find that I do a lot of therapy-based stuff for myself, and I really enjoy the therapy side of it, where I can change and put things in place on a therapeutic side, which I find easier to give out to others, if you like. So I find I do that for myself, so I do it for others.
I find that really interesting, yoga as therapy. I've only just started hearing about that.
Yeah, it's quite a
Yeah.
different look at things. I found I never sort of really enjoyed full studio work, as in teaching in front of a massive group. I loved people and I love people, but what I found was there was always so many differences in people. And there was this thing of competitiveness that I guess yoga traditionally doesn't really have. It's more about feeling where your body's at and being in touch with that, being mindful of where you are and following a practice in the day that suits you. And I think because we do have a competitive nature, and I mean, I'm in Olympic weightlifting, I enjoy competing, but I'm not to that extent. I would probably sit more on the fact that I just want to compete with myself in the fact that can I just do a little bit better? But you have to learn when to dial back on the day if it's not really there. So I find that really helpful with the yoga practices going into actually competing as well, because you really take care of your body and your mind better. So, yeah, I find yoga therapy made more sense. So when I went to learn that, as soon as I started, I was like, oh, my God, this is what's been missing. And you're looking at the cognitive therapy side of things as well in that. So you're looking at how the brain actually functions to actually help the body and what sort of conditions can cause issues with that. You're looking at physical disabilities, physical issues, autoimmune conditions, like everything. So you look at how yoga actually takes its place around the Western world as well. So I hope that makes sense, because a lot of people ask, well, what's the difference? But, yeah, we do a lot of work around the Western world. So it's not more about just being on the practice of traditional yoga. It's about how it actually encompasses medical practitioners. How can we support that? Allied health, all of those kind of things. And I love that. I love that we can have that side of things where we can work together with the Western world medical profession as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fascinating. I need to learn more about all of that and how it works. It sounds so cool. So, Leah, what has been the biggest thing that being in business has taught you?
Well, I'm a relatively stubborn person, and I think that's helped actually. There's a lot of things really, but I think sticking at it and not feeling, because I have a problem with perfectionism sometimes, which I'm very aware of. And sometimes I won't try something because I think, I don't know if I've got enough skill for that, or instead of just giving it a go, and probably do have enough skill for it, but, your brain goes elsewhere. A bit of imposter syndrome, I think. Probably just moving forward is the biggest thing. And moving forward without thinking, I can't do that. I may not have enough skill, and you're continually learning anyway. Just moving forward and having a go.
And have there been times in the journey when you've thought, this is too much, I want to quit?
Yep,
have you ever got
all the time? Yep. Yeah. I've just had another conversation over the last 6 weeks with my husband when we had states that we work in go into lockdown.
Again.
And we've had to look at bringing forward some of the things we wanted to put online earlier and things like that. And we're all the time, I always think, this is so hard. I could fit anywhere in certain jobs with my background. And then something happens with our family, we move back again. And I'm sure what I'm saying is exactly other people as well. But then you think, well, if I leave this profession, if I leave my business, where will the impact be in what unique things I can bring to people? And you really have to start thinking that way, that you do have that option to change a lot of people's lives, or at least one life. And that's a really important thing. Sometimes when you do work for another, perhaps you or a bigger corporation, perhaps that's lost. And I feel like it's important to keep that as a goal.
Yeah, so true. I think, having something that you're really passionate about, the way that you are, it's essential for keeping going, because there will be hard times in business. There will always be challenges and obstacles. But if it's something that you really believe in, then I think you're more likely to keep trying, keep going.
Yeah, I've got to say, and I'm sure there's been many people that have done this. I've looked at jobs. I've looked at different options, especially with the current environment, how I can fit that into my life. Could I do this as well? And I think about the time it takes me away from the things I can put in place through our business. And of course, my family life also suffers then. And then your wellness may suffer. So your personal wellness. So, yeah, it's definitely been something I've thought about, but yeah, I'm not ready to give up just yet.
It's good to hear. So what advice would you give to somebody who was starting out in business?
Find a support network that's your tribe. I think I was missing that when I first started. I was lucky to have good people that I had worked with or supported me in whatever I've done. But in regards to the true business nature, so I found Osmum's actually very good for that. Osmum and Women's Business School as well. So I find when I've gone to a conference, I've gone, oh my God, this is like everybody that looks like me. Obviously, they don't look like me, but in nature and how they're doing things and what they're doing in their world, there's a lot of similarities. And I've just gone, wow, like everyone's supporting each other here. That doesn't always happen in business conferences. I can tell you that. I've been to a few. So I reckon find your tribe and make sure that you have someone that can help you, I guess a mentor if you can, and just basically get them to help you, guide you through the process of your startup. Women's Business School is always a good start. So starting up, if you're needing a startup option with some support, that's a good way to do it. Those kind of things really, really matter, and especially in the world we're in right now, it can be pretty lonely to work from home. So really take care of your well-being is the other. So that's one big thing. Support for well-being is extremely important. Secondly, find a way that you can actually support yourself. Make sure that you're looking after yourself before you go into business. Make sure that you continue those things and make time for it, because I guarantee you'll be a better business person for it, and your family and yourself will thank you.
Yeah, wonderful advice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it's been wonderful having you here on the show with us, Leah. Thanks so much.
My pleasure.
How can people get in touch with you and follow you?
We're on Instagram and Facebook. We're KidsFit Aust. So kids, KidsFit AUST. And you can also find me on LinkedIn as well, Leah Chandler KidsFit Aust as well. It's the same tag. And you can also find us on our website, kidsfitaustralia.com. And all my details are on there also, so you can link onto our Facebook and our Instagram that way, and our LinkedIn profile. And also my details for my email and my phone number are on there, so anyone's welcome to give us a call.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. It's just been wonderful chatting with you.
Oh, thank you. It was really wonderful to be here.
Thanks a lot. All right. Well, we'll see you next week, everyone. Thanks so much, Leah, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Bye.
Have a good day, everybody. Bye.